Well, good morning and welcome to, I think it's part 5 now. But I'm proud to say after 4 episodes of Dinosaurs and Riff Raff, I finally got some quality on the show. And I'm not looking at you, Graham, either. So, first of all, welcome to our first lady member guest, the lovely Vicky Evans.
Good morning.
And obviously, the guy everyone knows at our club, Mr. Graham Neville. So, I'll start off like I always do with you, Vicky. Year you joined, who the captain was, lady captain, and who proposed you?
So I joined in 2016. Pat Blackburn was lady captain. I don't think I got proposed necessarily. I think no, I didn't. I'd come and played the course a few times with some of the chaps from work, and I thought this is just that. Stop touring all the courses, just choose one and try and join it. And it was Northern that stuck out. So I inquired and came along and met with Hazel. I think it was Hazel in the office, and within a couple of days was out and about putting cards in. So yeah.
Oh, that's a nice story. Okay. Graham, you're slightly different and more difficult, shall we say. So tell us first about how you came about to be at Northern, what your actual title is, because I know some people say pro, playing pro, affiliated pro, and what your remit is, shall we say. Keep it simple.
Yeah, I joined in, I think it was 2015 or 2014. And I was working as a coach at the time at Altrincham Driving Range, and there was a crossover period where Altrincham Driving Range was getting taken over by the council, and there was lots going on there. So I think it was shut down for a while. So I met Joe maybe about 11 or 12 years ago, and he just said, "Do you want to be on board and do some teaching?" I said, "Yeah." So. I guess officially it's a PGA Pro, or the head PGA Pro, if you like. I think that's what the title is through the PGA.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the remit, I guess, would be coaching, trying to play and put the Northern brand out there in terms of playing, and also just doing a bits with the members and playing the Dunham Trophy as well.
Good old Dunham. And apologies, I also forget to introduce one of my best mates and my co-host, Mr. Baker. I think it's that red shirt that's puts us off. By the way, if he suddenly goes blank, that's deliberate, by the way. So
just thought I'd rub it in a little bit more than I already have this week to all the members that join. Graham, so obviously you are the pro at Northern. What's the sort of journey from to actually get to pro? Always quite interested to see what that is like and how painful or unpainful it is.
Yeah, well, I turned pro in 2008. I was at Ringway at the time, so another local golf club.
Off what handicap?
I was off scratch when I turned pro.
Nice. Was it bang on scratch or plus something, or?
It was 0.4. So it actually got down to at the end of the season, and it came down quite quickly. I think my last 6 rounds were under par, and I just came sort of rattling down at the end of the season. And I played with a member, and he said, what do you plan to do? And I said, I want to turn pro, but it's quite costly playing events. And he said, it was £1,000 at the time. And you think, wow, okay, that's a lot of money, but you then soon realise it doesn't go that far. So I think I shot. I don't know what type of a competition I played in with him, but I think I was something like 9 under. It was just one of those days where sort of everything went in, and he was impressed, and so
and he thought he backed Desert Orchid. Get hold of this guy, we're going to win some money further on.
That's what he thought. But then I played for a year. I was still working. I was working in retail at the time, and it was when I met my wife. She said, you want to do something with qualifications? I said, okay. So I got a job at at Mir actually in 2009 or 2010. Did my 3-year qualifications and my coaching qualifications through the PGA. I finished 6th in my year, which I'm quite proud of.
Those were the days when it was at the Belfry, wasn't it? We had the PGA school there.
Yeah, that's it. So you go there, and it's in conjunction with the University of Birmingham at the time. And yeah, I finished 6th in the year. I think there was like 320 people on my year, so that was via exam results, and the top 5 were international students as well. So yeah, and then I went from there really. I played regional stuff and started doing a bit of coaching.
And was it at the original time though, what was the ultimate goal? To be focused on the playing side or the coaching side? Or did you find it, a lot of pros I know, their ambition is also to be a income generating down the playing side, and then actually realise it's a lot tougher than they think, or then the time to commit and actually go down the coaching route. Or other people go, do you know what, I actually prefer the coaching route. I want to go down the coaching route. So talk us through that decision-making process and what were probably the triggers to go from like sliding doors moments, I'm guessing, to go from there to there.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting because
thank you.
I was speaking to, and we'll touch on this in a little bit as well, the podcast that I've started. I did one yesterday with a local touring pro called David Shatlady. And he has done everything. And he actually said to me, he said, most people who play golf, most pros that get into golf, you turn pro to try and win the Open Championship. That's the dream. Everyone picks up a club and everyone puts on the green when they're a kid and says, this 3-footer's for the Open, or this 3-footer's for the Masters. So that is always a burning desire. Of course it is. But then reality sort of hits sometimes, because the standard and the tiers that you have to progress up are so steep. And then, you know, family life and things like that I wouldn't say get in the way, but you obviously have other pulls pulling you in other directions. So yeah, so the coaching side I'm interested in, definitely, obviously, I'm passionate about, because again, we'll touch on that in a little bit. But essentially the playing side was my interest to start off with. And then
the original dream.
The original dream, yeah. And I think if you asked, and again, from the podcast, the conversation that I had yesterday with David, if you asked a lot of pros, would they want to win the Open, hand on heart, and they're going to say, yeah, that's the burning desire. Whether it's realistic or not, I feel that's always going to be in the back of your mind.
But would you say that when you ask that question to the pros, that's generally probably in their first 5 years? Because after
Correct.
that, they know, probably not even 5, they know actually it's no longer a goal, and it's no longer really a real dream. You with me? Because that stage, you can't know. And it's a lot of, I mean, just look around us now. Danny Wardrop, I'm sure you know Danny Wardrop.
Yes, no, Danny.
You know his experience. Sam Prince, even more closer to home. Do you know what's happened to him? Something. Okay. We'll get back to your stuff in a minute, Graham.
Do you like this mug, by the way? This is a...
You definitely didn't steal that from Joe Mannion.
What the hell is that?
Is it backwards? It says the best golfer in the world.
I can read it.
No, I'm just worried about the thing in the middle. It doesn't look like
isn't
golf
it?
club to me, that.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So, Vicky, for you, it's funny.
I'm not going to win the Open.
No. But most members of our club, male members, or sorry, any non-lady member, actually have strong opinions or thoughts of, not strong, wrong word, think they know what the ladies section is all about, but in reality, they know F all about the ladies section, okay? So, and I'm quite fortunate enough, and I get mocked a lot of times, is that I know quite a few lady members, going back to days where I was probably the only bloke, sometimes the only bloke who played bridge with them on Friday night. With me. So I know quite a few back in the day in the old clubhouse. So talk us through the ladies. Well, first of all, sum it up in your terms, what you just what you see the ladies section is, and then talk to me where you think they're really strong and where you think they have opportunity to get even better.
Okay, so I think there's a wider issue. I think with golf is the first starting point around, it's viewed as a sort of aging sport. And, I know when I joined Northern, I would have been 38 when I joined Northern, and I was sort of comfortably the youngest lady member. And I think that's kind of repeated across a lot of golf clubs, regionally and further afield. So it's I joined a golf club previously, and this was going back to 2012. And when I joined there, it wasn't good at all. It wasn't welcoming. You very much felt like
the ladies section or the golf club?
The ladies section, very much the ladies section. And Northern wasn't like that at all. So I was very apprehensive about joining, because all of the golf I've ever played has been kind of corporate golf or in groups of men who were my friends and, played golf with for years. So it was a really big kind of leap of faith for me, because I had some kind of prejudged ideas, I guess, of what a ladies section at a golf club would be like. So to say that I was incredibly pleasantly surprised is kind of the truth. So everyone unfailingly made me incredibly welcome at the golf club. Our section is very, very strong in kind of making sure that people have got people to play with. We've now got, under Lady Captain Trish, we've got a really good sort of WhatsApp group going where, we pair people up. And, this year we've had 4 or 5 new lady members who are, without being unkind to anybody, are at the younger end of the spectrum. So that, that gives you really good hope for the future as well, that there's younger women who've joined. For me, the strengths of the section are the friendship and support, actually. So everybody wants you to do well. So when you especially when you first start playing, if you have like a really good round, or you win a comp or something, everyone makes a really big fuss of it.
Christ, don't start like my mates. I might join the ladies section.
Well, exactly, and I think this is where possibly it would be different to the men's section of any golf club, because clearly the ladies section is a smaller, tighter knit group, and obviously there's groups of close friendships within that, but generally everybody knows everybody. Most people are happy playing with each other, and
If that makes it quite easy when there's only 8 of you.
Oh, that's shocking.
Actually, that.
You know what's funny, Vicky?
After all that, he says that. That's a question I wanted to ask. How many lady members are there now? Must be.
So I think there's about 50.
I thought, 40 or 50.
Yeah,
I thought there's loads of new members. Loads of new members. I've seen 6, 7, 8 female members that I've never seen before. On the course.
Yeah. There's plenty, and there's an incredibly. There's a couple of incredibly good golfers have joined as well, which is really cool. But
which means Cal's not going to win everything.
Possibly, yeah. But when I go round other golf clubs, one of the things that we can't do it at the minute, but one of the great pleasures is always having a good nose at the handicap list in the locker room, and it gives you a good gauge of how big or otherwise, and how good or otherwise ladies sections are at various golf clubs. And I think Northern stands up really well. But certainly, I've had a tough time lately, as people know, and the love and the friendship that has come out of the ladies section, and I have to say the golf club generally, has been, has made my life a lot easier at this time. So, I'm locked in for life. I'm completely convinced by it, and I tell anybody to listen.
That's brilliant.
It's so true, Vicky. From outside the ladies section, so I've known the ladies section for, we have called it 14, 15 years.
Like an honorary member.
Yeah. I have got a unisex first name, so I can get away with it. But that's not supposed to be funny, by the way.
That's as far as we'll go, Lex. That's as far as we'll go.
But I've seen a huge change in that ladies section. I mean, in terms of everything. I think the key one is more that the culture of that ladies section is probably a polite way of putting it. Because you're right, the last 2-3 years, give or take, it's totally changed. Much more welcoming, tight-knit, as you say. feel-good type of vibe, like a proper club vibe, where if you go previous, it was poison. I don't mind saying that. And there were people there, and some of those people have actually left. And, you know, a really good friend of mine and Pete's, his missus joined the club. You know, and she would have been late 20s, early 30s. Stu Peeves, she joined.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She left within 3 months. She instantly hated it. And, you know, my running joke was, when I had council meetings and even normal chit-chats about ladies section, I was like, who cares about them? In 10 years' time, they won't exist because they've all died. Because no one was coming. You with me? But now you look around, loads more there. You know, Leroy's daughter's there. Like I said, there's some youth members brought their partners. And it's totally changing. And I think, but also, there's always been a us and them, ladies and men, quite separate. You know, I never knew why, to a certain degree, we had a men's council and a ladies' council. No, so you had a club council, which only lady representatives on there were really the lady captain and the lady vice captain. The rest were men's, but then, so they in theory but helped guide the club. But then below that, you had a ladies' council committee with them, which did their own things. Some things I can't understand, that never helped the divide, did they? And this goes back years. You were never there for the old clubhouse, were you, Vicky?
No, I joined as the new clubhouse.
Well, do you remember the old clubhouse, Graham?
Yeah.
So the old clubhouse, and this sums it up, was you had the main entrance, okay, as you go in. And as you go in, you have the stairs up to the bar on the right, or you go to the ladies section, the ladies' locker room down there, and the stairs up there. And this always made me laugh. You'd have a social event in the evening. So husband and wife will come sit down, spend the whole night together. Then the event would finish, and I shit you not, the event would finish, they'd get up, and they'd both walk through separate staircases, go down the staircases, and meet by the car in the car park. Because that obviously goes on from years, going, how does that work? And it's totally changed now, where there's definitely much more of a more community feel with regards to all sections. You know, there's still that little bit of a divide there-ish, but not as much. Question for you, because you're one of the few who do it. That first time you stepped on a tee in a Saturday competition and played that round, how did you feel?
We were talking about this only at the weekend. So
still going on.
I've got some kind of weird mental block about playing on a Saturday. And I think it probably goes back to that. Well, there's a couple of things, but the first time I played on a Saturday, I'm not going to lie, I was quite nervous. Now, I can't remember who I played with. One of the early rounds was actually with you, Lex, with Ben. And I think
April last year.
Yeah, and I think I did okay that day. But I think the first time, you stood on the tee like not knowing what to do. And I mean, that is just crazy, because as a female, I've always played golf with men. Loads of my friends are men. That's how I've always played golf. So it would never occur to me that it's a male-female thing. But there was definitely something about, we're playing on a Saturday now. And I have to say, and I'll look back at the cards, I don't think I've played well on a Saturday, ever. And that'll be coming off winning on a Thursday and then doing well the following Thursday.
That makes two of us, Vicky.
Yeah. I'll be in your gang then. But,
there's a lot of people who get nervous on a Saturday, believe me. It's not just the females.
Yeah, well, I think as well, it's better now, because obviously it's the second season of doing it and there's more of us doing it, which is really cool. But it shouldn't even, it's kind of sad, isn't it, that it's even a discussion point, because it should just be, people are playing golf. And I'm dead happy playing on a Saturday because it's more convenient to me. It fits in better with what I want to do. And I know a lot of the ladies sort of think that, but bizarrely, I know there are people as well, and they would rather that there are just ladies comps and men's comps, and that's on both sides of the fence. But that attitude will go over time.
And do you know why that's so annoying, Vicky? Yeah, it winds me up sometimes because we all try to do the right thing, and you're right, and it's both sides of the fence, Vicky, not just one side or the other.
Yeah.
Is I remember, so if you go back years ago, the ladies section kicked off big time, and rightly so, that equality means they should be able to play on a Saturday. Yeah, they fought for it hard.
Yeah.
Like, but this is an example, which is a real example, but it's a bit of a jest too. If I get in trouble for this, so they rightly wanted equality tee up for Saturday. So they were kicking off, led by I can't remember who the captain was, but I think she was quite forthright in her views. And then obviously the men's section, again, this doesn't help the divide. No, you can't do this, you can't do that. So in the end, he goes, it's equality, you've got to do it. Oh, great, sweet. Oh, by the way, though, ladies, that also means you've got to pay 7-day subs, not 5-day. Oh, well, in that case, and guess what? No one did it. It was like...
Or even worse, they let the blokes play on Thursday. Can you imagine that? But we should, all joking aside, it should just come to a point where there's just competitions at the club, and whoever wants to play in them can play in them. But I do get, when I put my kind of promoting female sport head on, I'm very keen on young girls in particular playing sport and any sport, and golf's an incredibly good game for people to get into, and the line of work that I'm in, it's done me no end of good from a networking and a business point of view. And all the women I work with, I work in a big industry in Manchester, and I can name 3 girls who play golf out of all those hundreds of people that I know. There's 3 of us who play, and that is just bananas. So I just tell people all the time, just get into it. You don't have to be brilliant at it. Just try and get into it, and it opens up a whole new world. So I do have a little bit of a protectionist thing about trying to encourage girls and women to play. And if they don't feel comfortable in the all-encompassing everyone plays golf together, then it is quite nice to kind of have that place where there is a ladies comp. But by that, you've got to accept that there's going to be some that are men as well. There's going to be men's comps.
Can I, Graham? Obviously, you teach the juniors quite a lot, don't you, of late and previous? Has there been a change in the delineation of girls and boys playing? Because when I look over, I tend to see quite a lot of girls playing with the boys. I'm not saying it's half, but it's certainly not the same percentage grouping as the club. Probably more female. There are probably more girls playing than there are.
Correct. Yeah, I'd agree with that comment. There's if I was coaching juniors and I gave you a figure on either side, I'd probably say 60% of boys.
Yeah, I was going to think 60-40. Yeah, which that's potentially the future, isn't it? Which is good.
I remember when I was at a junior section, and what 20 years ago, and
a bit more than that, Graham. Come on.
I'm a bit grey down, yeah. There was 2 girls playing, and probably the rest were boys. So that figure has become a little bit more equal and met in the middle a little bit more.
Why do you think that is, though? Because is it because do you still think the stereotypes there that it's perceived as a male sport, or if you actually dig down deeper at the age? Let's just take that secondary school age. It's where people, because at a young age, everyone does sports, whatever it is, either because they want it or they're forced to do it. Okay, I'm sure if we go around all 4 of us, we've all played lots of sports. Some we hated because we're forced to do it. But when you get that secondary bit, I think again, a rough guess, so that's when you actually find a passion or a niche for a particular sport where you try to focus on that. And if you let's take the girls' age at this stage, golf, if you think it's schools and stuff like that, well, one, golf's not really on there, but also I like to think there's probably other things girls want to do or rather do than golf. And that because, Vicky, as well, to you too, is that because it's just not on an agenda anywhere? It's not on anyone's radar to even consider it. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know what you two think.
it's an interesting one, because Graham and I talked about this over the winter during coaching, that, you know, when you look at the range at Trafford and stuff like that, it's rammed all the time with people, the dinosaur golf, the Paradise Island golf, all of that, you know, and that's boys, girls, families, whatever. And it you know, there are shed loads of people in this country playing golf and young people playing golf, but then they don't seem to always translate it into the proper game. And I think that's probably where the image problem is. I mean, growing up where I grew up, I grew up half a mile from West Lancs. So, you know, stunning golf course on the doorstep. Used to ride along it on my bike every weekend. Used to sit and watch people play golf. But it never, ever occurred to me, ever, to think, oh, I could go and play golf. Like, it wasn't a thing. Like, you know, I was football mad and tennis mad, and that's the sports I played. Golf isn't a thing in schools, I don't think, at all. And it's obvious why, because, you know, you need space and time and, you know, and certain equipment and stuff, so you can sort of see why it's not in schools. But it would be amazing if some form of the game, you know, became into primary schools and that, because I think once people are hooked on it, you become, you know, we're all obsessed with golf, and everybody I know who plays golf is obsessed with golf. And, you know, there's the benefits go on for, well, everyone knows the benefits, don't they? The well-being, the health, absolutely everything. And there just seems to be a translation point, doesn't there, of making it become a sport that's viable at a young age.
I've got a mate, Steve Monaghan, who actually works for an agency that works really close with English golf, and it's all about basically presenting those opportunities for kids and getting it at the forefront. Because once you're in, you're, as you say, obsessed. I think people talk about people cycling more on a Saturday than playing golf. That is the case, but I only cycled every Saturday when the golf club was closed because of lockdown. And as soon as the bike went back in the shed and the golf clubs came out. So I think...
But now you can't get on the sheets, you cycle anyway.
I can't get on the sheets, so I'm going to cycle again.
Too many ladies on that Saturday sheet.
I know, I was thinking that. But I think it's getting the opportunity. I think, and I think it's a lot cheaper now to become a member of a junior. It's like 25 quid, and there's golf clubs literally stacked in the pro shop at the moment next to Joe, because people are handing in old clubs to help the juniors, which is brilliant. But when I was a kid, I was impossible to get on a course as a junior. I was in Formby. I don't know where you were, Vicky. Were you in Crosby?
I was in Crosby, yes.
Crosby, Sacred Heart High School?
No, Manor.
Oh, Manor, yeah. I taught in Sacred Heart as well, I think.
You escaped, Vicky.
Yeah. What was that?
Vicky escaped.
Yeah, I am.
But yeah, so it was... I think it's becoming a lot cheaper and a little bit more accessible, but they just need to push it forward. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they do need to push it forward.
Well, one big challenge for both sexes is, I think Vicky touched on it, I think it's still perceived as an elitist sport. Because football, think about football, all you need is something round, which you can make yourself kick about anywhere. With any ball sports, you know, golf, you can't just kick about. You know, obviously space is one thing, but equipment, all that sort of stuff, time, football, you know, because you think at the FA and the equivalents, I don't know what it's like in NFL, Vicky, you might be a bit younger, she might have frozen now, but FA, you know, it's all to change from the age group. So under sixes is five-a-side, smaller balls. The equipment and the way the game is played is totally changed, even timings, where you go to golf, you've got shorter tees, and I think now being like three holes, 4 holes, but to get smaller clubs, all that, it's a huge cost. And that can't help get people, because Vicky touched on it, he goes, once you get the bug, you're done, yeah? But it's trying to get that bug. And if you talk, you know, about these pitch and parts, all that, that's actually more of a family day out, a date night. You're not going, when you go there, it's like going bowling. You don't go bowling to shoot 300, do you? You go bowling to win, but you don't really care. Forgotten about drinks. Same with pitch and part and the range sometimes for players. That to a courting is a whole different proposition, isn't it? That's tricky. And you, Graham, is one for you. Is, you know, you see the Bobber Watsons of the world who say, never had a lesson. And then you go right to the other end who are you know, they've got short game coach, mental coach, long range driving coach, whatever. Before we get into that, let's start at the beginning of a teaching, learning journey as a amateur player. From your perspective, you know, you've played with hundreds of people, all different levels. I mean, I've played with you a few times.
Yeah.
What are the common mistakes a typical amateur player is making?
Fundamentals in terms of the grip, aim, stance, posture. Simple things, really. Simple things that create a foundation for the rest of the golf swing as well. But also, I think one of the things a good coach can do is create a level of understanding in each player and what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong as well. And I hate using the word wrong because there's so many ways to hit a golf ball, and there's not such a right way or a wrong way in terms of swing theories. I don't think there's definitely things that people do or good players do that create shots to their given target or create a certain shape of shot. But I think a coach essentially is trying to develop that person and that player, swing it better, but also understand their game a little bit better as well.
So why would you recommend someone sees a pro?
Well, for many reasons, you get people coming in and they might be happy going to play and hit a big slice, and they might want to hit it a little bit straighter. But essentially, I go and see a coach, and there's one, I enjoy it. I enjoy the time with him. Two, I feel like I'm learning, and then I can pass that knowledge on to other people as well. And three, I feel like I'm getting better and feel like I'm developing myself as a golfer, as a human as well. So that's my basis of a coach. But also, a coach needs to understand the player, and it doesn't necessarily happen overnight. It's a development and a gradual process. You know,
I'll put you on the spot here, Graham. I think I know what the answer is, but that means I'm probably wrong. When someone comes up to you for you to be their potential coach, or you are their coach, what's the one most important question or thing you need to know from them? You can only ask someone once. Say PB and I rocked up, all three of us rocked up for you, all want you to help us. We do it individually. You can only ask us one question. What would it be?
How much time and work are you going to put in?
That's it.
I'm asking straight away.
Yeah. So, Vicky, it sounds like you've been coached by Graham as well. I've never really had a golf coach before, so I went once when I started playing golf when I was about 18, and then I think I saw Alex once or twice, maybe Joe once or twice. I can't remember. Literally one or two lessons.
Yes.
But Joe, Graham, I think I've had, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 lessons with you, maybe?
I guess so, yeah.
Probably about that. And I genuinely feel that, he's constantly, now and again, like even if not a lesson, he will send me a little video. It's like, all right, brilliant. And it's just that constant engagement.
What was missing?
I'll know because I've got loads of work going in the back of my house, so apologies for the noise. But I'll know that as long as Graham's around, I will always have some form of engagement with Graham if I'm going to improve my golf. So I've definitely improved my golf. My whole swing has changed because of Graham. I went to the golf, getting clubs fitted, and the guy was like, "What do you play off?" And I was like 6, 7 at the time, and he's like, "Really?" So he was shocked at how bad I was in terms of my actual swing, because it wasn't all over the place, but it wasn't right. And I went to Graham, and he was sort of like, "Yeah, there's a lot of work to do." And I was like, "I've got good swing," but I really haven't. And now it's just slowly getting better. But it's phenomenal, the change. And I don't think I've ever hit a golf ball. I don't think I've ever hit a golf ball properly until the last year and 2 years. And that's genuine. So you've massively helped me.
Thank you.
And I think I have started to study swings more than I ever have. And when I watched golf, I know you may laugh, but when I
Graham's
watched
there
golf,
going, no, don't do your own thing and ruin all this work we put in, because it's not as easy as
no,
that.
I don't mean study.
You know
I don't
what
mean study swing.
Tell the truth now, Graham. It's like, no.
I don't mean
Just because it
study
works on this
swing.
guy doesn't mean it's going to work on you. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, in terms of when I'm watching golf and when they slow down the swing, I would go, oh yeah, that's nice. But now I'm properly understanding the different angles and all that sort of stuff, and it's from the coaching that Graham's given me. So I think whatever level you're at, it's definitely worthwhile. Especially all these new members. What we have 110 new members.
Yeah, good take.
There's of which 6 or 7 of those are female. Like, yeah, I'd definitely advise getting in contact with Graham.
Well,
It
surely
massively helped me.
The question I would ask is, what's that golfer's objective? Because if you just have a crack and walk around, they might not want a lesson or need a lesson, or if they do, it probably be a bit different. So, like I've had stuff with Graham. You had stuff. I can guarantee you, our objectives, PB and I, will be totally different. I think your goal is obviously to get right down as much as you can, and just keep going.
Yours is to go up.
I went to see Graham.
Honestly, it's terrible. I'm going to go, you playing this medal? Mate, no, I'll leave that. I'll play the board comps.
You do, mate. You got it, mate. It's up there. As in, golf is up there, mate. So, but
there's probably 5. Sorry, Lexi. There's obviously more than one question you need to ask.
I know, mate. It's only putting you on the spot there.
Physiological, what the age group. There's so many different factors to it, and also you need to bring out the level of enjoyment. For Pete, for example, and Vicky to a certain extent, playing better creates enjoyment.
Yeah.
And you can see the progress, and for me, playing better is part of it. But also for me as a coach and a player, when I'm coached, I enjoy the learning process. I enjoy the process of hitting balls. I enjoy the process, whether that's going to effectively get me better long term. I enjoy the process, and I think that's really important. There was I don't know if you've heard of Sean Foley, the golf coach, used to coach Tiger Woods, and it was maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and it was probably when I started doing my coaching, and he said something which was resonated with me. He said, my job as a coach is to make myself redundant to the player, and passing as much knowledge and as much understanding as possible over to that player to make them learn and be able to do it themselves. And I think that's quite opposite, really.
And
I think a bit of it as well is about, as a person, if you're coachable and you like being coached, which I do. I mean, with football as well, I've always enjoyed the process of trying to get better. And although the 2 games at the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the coaching bit is pretty constant. And I get a lot of fun and a lot of pleasure out of thinking that I've gone in with maybe one thing that I need to work on, and I've come out at the end of that lesson or the football session thinking, well, actually, yeah, I've moved forward there. And then you're excited then for the next game or the next round to go and put into practice what you've learned. And the reason I went to Graham in the first place, well, clearly I needed to get better. I was really stressed out by my handicap, completely stressed out by it, and it's like I need to sort it, and it just became a bigger and bigger deal. But during last year, I just developed a habit that I'd never had before, and it was destroying every single card. And that's the thing that we worked on over the winter, and was so excited then for this new season, because I knew that pretty much this problem had gone because of the work that
alcohol.
Say again.
Alcohol.
You know what? Alcohol's not my problem, Lex. It's chocolate. It's something. It's not booze, but yeah. So I enjoyed the process of kind of talking it through, where we want to be, how we're going to get there, and Graham made the point about how much time and effort you'll put in. I am never away from that range at Trafford now. Lockdown's been massively helpful, clearly, for everybody playing golf in a, you know, because it's one of the things that you can go and do as much as anything. But I love going to the range. I absolutely love, whether I'm on my own or whether I'm with friends, just hitting a load of balls, but really not doing that thing that people do at Trafford where they just spray balls all over the range. Just try and do it in a considered fashion.
Clear the fence on the left.
Yeah. Can you clear the fence? Can you hit the goalpost? All of that. But I get a lot of fun out of that. And when I actually rack up the hours per week playing golf now, there is just no comparison to last year and certainly the years before. You know, I am willing to put the time and effort in to try and get to where I want to be. And you know, I'm not saying it because he sat here, but he's a great coach. You know, it's simple things, but it's
on that note is again, picking a coach, I think it's like picking a wife, isn't it? Picking a girlfriend. There's got to be a match there. Do you not think? So Graham, how do you, when someone wants to find a coach for them, is it just take one off the shelf, they're all the same? Or is it, I like to think it's not as basic as that. It's what do you recommend people do or look for or ask when they first of all make that decision that they want to improve, because that's obviously quite key, or become more consistent, and then go, do you know what? It is admitting to yourself that you need help with me. That's something key. Actually, I need help and I'm going to see someone. That's probably a big part. And then when they go, right, I need to find a pro, what do you recommend? What should they look for and ask to find the one which is going to, in theory, hopefully suit them?
Yeah, good question. I think there needs to be a rapport. I go to a couple of guys, and I haven't been for a while. Well, I went at the start of the season before lockdown, actually, just to have a bit of a tune-up, and I've not been for a while. But there's got to be some sort of engagement. There's got to be some sort of understanding on both parts, and it's hard. Like finding a good coach, and what defines a good coach? Is it the getting better as a player, or is it just enjoyment, going to see someone, having a chat? There's so many levels where you can take it. But in terms of getting better, you've got your coaches that are obviously technical, and there's coaches that are a little bit less, and there's so many things to think about. But I think there needs to be some understanding on both parts. I think that's essential. And like for me and Vicky and Pete as well, and coaches, but we're friends as well. And we go and play golf, and I don't mind doing stuff like that. That's part of it. Like I played with Tim Crawshaw and Paul Johnson last night, and it was good. And it was just as friends. But then I've texted Tim afterwards saying, you know, you're actually swinging it really good. Let's
just get rid of that mallet putter.
Yeah, exactly. You can stop coming over the top with a putter.
Mate, I told him that too, but he's so adamant on the putting green, I can't miss. I said, I bet that's too heavy for you, but yeah. I'm glad you said that.
But it's also, Graham, one of the first few questions for me you asked is, how do you learn? What's your style? Is it feel? Is it visual? What is it? So I was a bit, not shocked, but the first half hour I had with you, I maybe swung the golf clubs 3 or 4 times. And you were like, yeah, I've got something to work on. But you're asking me about all those other things around it first, because I obviously coach, not golf, but in my job, I help people and coach people. So that, I could see traits of that within the questions you asked. And I think that's crucial as well, because I'm assuming there must be some people that you coach that you actually think you need someone else we're not really connected in. Has that ever happened?
I suppose it happens, yeah.
If you say no, you're blatant lying. You lose all credibility.
Well, is this one scout?
All that great work destroyed in one answer.
There's definitely, there must be times, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but definitely that's just human nature, isn't it? You go on when you're a kid and or anyone, and you go on a first date and you kind of think, well, I'm not really clicking here. and then you go on a second day and it's still not happening, and then you give it a wide berth. But then you can meet people and you can hit it off, and you go, right, okay, yeah, I'm engaged and I'm understanding, and yeah, and there's no if someone doesn't like get on with what I'm saying, it's fine, you know. There's many coaches out there. There's no bad feeling for sure.
Do you find there's times where amateur golfers, you're trying to teach someone and they think they know more than you? There must be times where they go, nah, I'm doing this, that, and the other. There must be times.
There's definitely, and interestingly, like I see stuff in my own swing, and you probably go, oh, Graham's got a good swing, but I look at stuff and nitpick, and the nitpicking doesn't help. There's maybe 3 or 4 things that drastically help my game, and there's also 3 or 4 things that I hate but don't have any consequence on my golf swing or shot whatsoever. And I was listening to a really good podcast called Earn Your Edge last week, and there's one with Adam Scott, and he said it was at the early start of maybe 2011 to 2015, he said he trusted his coach at that point so much that he didn't view his golf swing on a video. And obviously it's Adam Scott, he swings the club really nicely, but he said he hated things in his swing. And you look at Adam Scott and you think, wow, you know, he's swings the club great. He's like the perfect man. So if that can happen on that scale, Adam Scott, then, you know, I think it can happen with anyone.
Yeah, and you do your trips abroad. I don't really know much about it, but you go to Portugal, you do trips abroad. I mean, what's involved with that, and what's the basis of that? Because I'm just thinking, is that literally you rock up 4 rounds of golf and you get training before, during, and after? Is that pretty much it? And then get boozed in the evening? Is that pretty much it? Just tell us a little bit more about that, because I don't really.
Yeah, you're probably best to ask Vicky that.
Oh, Vicky, have you been on, have you?
Yeah.
Right.
It's absolutely phenomenal. Like the place that you go to, like Penina, although you're an amateur golfer, you're just surrounded by golf from the second that you arrive. And obviously all the facilities are lovely, the weather's nice, all of that's kind of a given. But the atmosphere of the place, it makes you want to do well. And, you know, I learned a really good tip from Graham very early on in this trip, that at breakfast, you make yourself little rolls for lunch, and you could see around the room, all these proper golfers were all making their lunch at breakfast and taking it out with them. And that's I've carried forward on other trips. But it's the feel of the place. You know, the facilities are great, and you know, you feel like a proper golfer. That's the only way I can put it, because you're up early, breakfast, you're out coaching, then you go and play the course, then you get back on the range and do more coaching, and you know, you work on it was really cool, because there were, you know, there's 7 or 8 of us, and sort of Graham would come along and say, well, you know, what did you like, what did you not like about the round, you know, what should we work on? And you get that kind of individual feedback immediately from someone who clearly knows what they're doing and has just played the course with you. Cannot recommend it enough.
And I'm assuming it's not just your swing; it's the tips on, because that's one thing I've never had, and I think I'm gonna speak to Lex about this. He's quite funny. He's gonna enjoy this. It's really gonna. I'm gonna swear that I'm really gonna effing it. He's gonna like this. But I've been playing probably more golf with Lex than I ever have. I've only played once with Graham actually on the course. Everything else has been in the swing room. But I want to play more on the course with the likes of you, Graham, and actually have a lesson on the course, because annoyingly, Lex has helped me a lot recently, because he's been telling me, I've just basically asked him questions. So I've been playing with Lex and others, and I've been just probing them and prodding them and asking them questions like, what club do you use there? When you're 50 yards in, you've got that. Do you use that? What do you do there? How do you play that shot? And obviously Lex is very mean, but he's like, yeah, I'll show you. So I've actually learned quite a lot of little
blind leading the blind, peeps.
But little tricks, because his short game is phenomenal. And mine is basic at best, because I've never had a short game lesson ever. I think maybe half an hour, 10 minutes last year with you, Graham. But the little things like that, I've learned hugely from on the course training. So is that what you do in Portugal as well? And also looking at a green, I'm sure if you spoke to Tim Christie or Dave Nelson, and I have, certainly Dave, like, what you're playing to that green, and he will look at the green and the levels of the green and where the pin is and what angle. I just hit it, so I just literally, I just look at it and go, there's the pin, I'm aiming for the pin. And I just
happy to be on.
That's it. So I'm now trying to tweak that. Because that course management, all that sort of stuff, is that involved, and how much is it swing and how much is it course related at Portugal?
Definitely, it's led by the likes of Vicky in Portugal. Definitely, there's definitely we use the range session in the morning to warm up, and not much focus on coaching, just maybe a warm up, a few tweaks. We go and play. I'll play 9 holes and then drop back with the other group for 9 holes and have a look at how everyone's doing. We'll have a bit of lunch, and then we'll say to the guys, what do you want to work on today? Do you want to go to the range? Do you want to do a putting session? Do you want to do a clinic? And as it turned out, we kind of did quite a lot of range work last year. We did bunker session. We did a clinic, I think, on putting and chipping as well. And yeah, it was led by those guys. But the course management and going out on the course is essential, because one, you see the ball flight, and two, you see what the player actually is like on the golf course. For instance, like you say there, there's how do you play a certain shot from 50 yards? Well, there's probably 100 ways you could play it from 50 yards, and there's 100 flag positions that you could have.
All the variables.
And the better the player, the more instantaneous the computing of all the information is. Say you've got 160 yards, and that's your stock 8 iron or stock 7 iron, whatever it is, stock 5 iron. And then you go, well, is the pin at the back? If I hit this 3 yards long, it's going to be over the back. It's a really tough chip, so I'm best hitting it 3 yards short. But it's playing 3 yards uphill, but the wind's off the right, and I'm going to start it a little bit right, and it's a little bit into it, hit it into the right wind, so it's going to take 4 yards off that. And you've got all these numbers going round. It's a little bit damp. It's 12 degrees. It's not 18 degrees, so the ball's not going to fly as far. And there's moisture on the floor, or the green's a bit firm.
You're stressing me out, correct?
But the caddies, and Ian Finnis as well, Vicky, and the caddies on tour and the players, that they'll know straight away. It will just
automatic.
Automatic. Yeah. All this information will come in, and you will go, right, okay. Or I'm not using you as an example, Pete, but an amateur golfer will go, right, I've got 150 yards. That's a 7 iron, because it's 150 yards. Well, sometimes last year I hit 4 iron from 150 yards.
Pitch and wedge.
Really thins it hard. It's firm ground.
But I think one of the other things that was really cool to watch, because I'd never gone on a golf course before with a player as good as Graham. So at first, you could be, I guess you could be a bit overwhelmed, whereas I just viewed it as, right, you need to show here that you can play a bit, and really try to concentrate. But just watching somebody of that level just do what they're doing, like not even necessarily speaking to them, is quite fascinating. And the little things that I picked up, and it was going back to what Graham's saying about fundamentals. This is what we don't, as amateur golfers, what we don't do is, I'm really bad for backing away from a shot. So if I go up and it doesn't feel right, I still hit it. And I watched Graham really early on do all his setup, all his routine, and then something wasn't right with it, and he stepped away.
Yeah, I actually, yeah.
A million years, I know I wouldn't do that. I just think, sod it, hit it, and hope for the best. And the course management thing and the shot selection is fascinating to watch close up. It's really, really cool. And as I say, it doesn't need to be a discussion necessarily. It's just you watching somebody who's far better than you, how they approach stuff, and you can just pick little things up to try and take away and go and try yourself.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Juniors, we touched upon it before, Graham. Huge, and in my time at Northern, I don't think it's ever been as good. And that's a testament to yourself. Again, just very quickly, if you tell us how it all started, how it's going, what's the journey basically, any ultimate goals there?
For the juniors, essentially, I get, and this is anywhere. So it's not necessarily a Northern Golf Club, but the purpose of the coach in getting the juniors in. I remember I actually did golf at school. We did like a week every year where it was like an activity week, and I chose to play golf. I'd never played golf, and I enjoyed it, and I got hooked. And we had a bit of coaching. It was in Castlehawk in Rochdale, so it was a 9-hole course. There was a pitch and putt. It was really enjoyable. But essentially for the juniors, as a coach, I want them to have fun more than anything. Okay, I don't want them to get bogged down in you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And I want them engaged and then coming down to the club and not feeling scared to come down to the club. Because I wasn't when I was a kid. I got into it a little bit later, don't get me wrong, so I was probably a little bit more confident and able to get to the golf club and able to stay at the golf club a little bit longer, when you're 14, 15. And you can't drop a 6 or 7-year-old off and leave them all day. But there shouldn't be this feeling of I can't go to the golf club with my kids, or I can't go. And I want to break down that barrier and enjoy the coaching, but also want them to come as well. And not because, like, I had a text from one of the dads, maybe about 2-3 weeks ago, actually. It was mid-lockdown, actually. And he said, so it might have been just after the actual proper lockdown, as it were. And he said, we've been to the range a little bit with his daughter, and she doesn't like it. She wants you. So, like, there's that part of me, just like the dad-daughter relationship where you've got to do this. And to be honest, like, she swings it great anyway, and just let them have a bit of fun. Let's just say, right, okay, we'll narrow it down. Every week we'll try and get a little bit better, but a little bit more understanding, and just have a bit of fun. And then, if they do take golf up straight away, instantaneously, get into the junior section, that's great. But then they've got golf for the rest of their lives. If they go to university, if they go away, they can come back when they're 30 or 40. And then they go, right, okay, I remember playing golf when I was a kid. I enjoyed it. Let's get back into it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was quite fortunate. I come from a big golfing family, and I started when I was 10. Well, forced upon me when I was 10 and 11. And obviously living in Thailand helped massively. And my boys' school actually had its own golf course. So when we had matches, I was forced to play 6 times a week. So sometimes you go too far. But you're right, it's about that fun aspect, to get that fun, and then you can do it. I've noticed though, Graham, because I follow you on pretty much everything, I think, Twitter, Insta, that I wanted to ask you as well. You've done some radio shows, haven't you? Is it Liverpool where you've done some radio shows?
Of all the places, Liverpool, yeah.
When you're not their local expert, was it? I can't remember now. Was it? I think it was a major or something I did. It was pretty cool, that, wasn't it?
The radio shows, yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it. We went to, what was it called? Radio City. We've done a few with them. They had like a golf show. We did a bit of a preview for the Masters last year, preview for the Open. Can't remember if we did, was it maybe last year or the year before when they did the Ryder Cup? I think we did that one as well. Did you approach them? They approach you? How did that all come about? I can't remember how it came about.
Still pretty cool though, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how it came about. It was cool though. Yeah, it was good. Went into the studio, which is at the top of the what do they call it? The tower? Is it the tower? What's the tower called?
St. John's Tower.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So good view.
Got one of the buildings Liverpool fans do fireworks at.
No, this one could do with a firework throwing at it, I think. It's a bit of a...
Well, when Everton wins something, they can do that, can't they? There you go, PB, I've got you back, mate. I've got you back.
You're not radio show. You've got a podcast. You mentioned a podcast. We'll put it in the link, because I've listened to them. It is really good. So we'll put your details and Instagram and the podcast in the link. But is that... What's driven that? Is that just your need and want to...
And what's the content?
Your love of golf. What is it?
Yeah, well, I got into listening to the podcast because I don't know how I got into it really, listening to other podcasts, but they tend to be an hour long, and if you go to the gym, go for a workout or go for a run, I tend to go for about an hour. So I just listened to the podcast. I just got into them and started learning a lot from them, like the Adam Scott thing, which I mentioned before. And I just enjoyed them. And I thought, you know what, like from a sort of self-development point of view yesterday, and at the start, I thought I could do some podcasts. I could speak with a few people, and one, it's going to be engaging for like people like yourselves, learning from other players, and two, from a self-development point of view. Like yesterday, I spoke to Dave Shatlady for an hour and a half, and when am I going to do that? You know, when am I going to phone him and say and pick his brains for an hour and a half? And it was fascinating. It was so insightful. It was brilliant. I learned so much, and hopefully, like other people listening will learn. So from a self-development point of view, really, and in lockdown, it killed a bit of time, and I got a few people on board.
That's how these started. Yeah.
I'm just thinking. There's a guy I follow on Instagram, and you know, would you be doing, or have you seen like video lessons? So, for example, if Vicky goes to I'm thinking lockdown. I mean, obviously you can do lessons now, but if Vicky goes to the driving range, for example, and then videos her swing and then sends it to you, and then you respond and go, right, tweak that. Is there anything you can monetize that? Because I'm just thinking there's a lot of people that haven't got time to spend, you know, 2 or 3 hours, you know, go to the driving range or actually having a lesson at a particular day of the week. But, you know, I've got some guys who literally swing in the garden, you know, and would you be able to do that if they sent you videos and said, actually, you know what, 3 videos, 20 quid or 50 quid or whatever, and then you can tell them how to do it or how to tweak it?
Yeah, definitely. There's, like we've done in the past, you know, the videos that I send you over after the lesson.
Yeah.
You can just do that. Yeah, no problem with that.
I'm conscious of time, but I know PB wanted to ask one question, so I'll ask for him to wrap it up. In fact, all three of you can answer this. Start with you, Vicky. Your biggest highlight at London?
Yeah, or the funniest moment.
Well, it could be both the same thing.
So my biggest sort of personal highlight, I guess, from a golf point of view, was winning a couple of board comps last year, because I kind of got it in my head that you know, you need to start winning things, and you know, you want to be. It's quite cool seeing your name on the board and knowing that it'll be there forever. And you know, I got really excited about it. And that day last year, when it was like an inferno, was Lady Captain's Day. I think it was the hottest day ever in Manchester. People dropping flies everywhere, and I couldn't hit a bad shot. It was like, this is great. This is so I love that day. But that was a really funny day as well, because it was like musical chairs of all the pairings, because people were sort of either not going out in the first place because they were dying by like 8:30 in the morning, or you'd get kind of halfway around and like you playing partners had to have to change because somebody had to go in, and it we went back in the clubhouse, and it was like everyone had fought a battle, you know, just sort of went in. And then I think the funniest thing there's been a few incidents with Mo that are always funny, but there'd been a kind of a bit of an incident, we'll leave it there, but Mo came running over to me in the clubhouse, and he went like really loudly in front of everyone, went, "I hear you've been fighting on the course," like really loudly in front of everyone. I was just like, yeah, let's call it that. But no, there's a lot of things about it. There's always funny things happen with golf, with shockingly bad shots and, you know, fluky things. It's a fun game. It's fun.
Vicky, without realising, you just done the best comeback to Liverpool ever. Talking about how everyone wants to win a board comp and it's a great feeling. And our man down there has been trying so hard this year. And you, Graham, how about you?
Good question. I think there's more than one, but one that stands out is when I think it was Dunham Forest last year. I don't think the team won, actually, but I beat Grant Hamilton.
Good golf.
And obviously a good golfer, played on tour, and it was quite a personal, I guess, a selfish thing in a way. I won my match, but I was quite pleased with that. But just the development of there was another moment maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and there's a little junior, and we took him out on the golf course, and it was dry, so the ball was running, and he hit a great drive. It like came out of nowhere, and I put it on Facebook afterwards. And it came out of nowhere. It went 100. He said, right, we need to count out the steps here. So we counted out the steps, and it went 153 yards. And it was just one of those moments where he was like, wow, okay.
Ripped it, yeah.
He's gonna remember that moment for the rest of his life.
That's brilliant.
How about you, Peeps?
Best moment on Northern? Is it, because I'm just thinking the bar. I'm just thinking the bar and the, you know, those sort of moments. In terms of golfing, and getting a hole in one is obviously probably a really good one, and the night afterwards. But I think probably main one for me is memories of like 15 of us on playing we used to draw the card out, and you've got to play the whole 3 holes with one club. Those sort of memories for me, having like 16 lads on the tee, all with, you know, random irons about to tee off with a pitching wedge and a putter. Those sort of memories for me are the best ones at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night on a Thursday in June. But yeah, definitely for me.
Those days are coming back. Don't worry. Those days will come back. Fine. Hey guys,
what about you, Lex?
My memories, yeah, probably that. Or maybe the summer barbecue had a few years ago where singing all the bar staff were actually with us, all those type of things. For me, golf's golf. You with me? I love playing golf. I play golf for the beers and the banter.
Yeah. Just before we wrap up.
This is a Scouse thing, I'm telling you off.
No, just before we wrap up, I did want to say, the greenkeeper's done an incredible job, I think, the last few months. The course is in great nick. It's a frustration of mine. I'm sure it's a frustration of his. I think I played last Saturday, and I normally repair a few pitch marks in the green, walk around when people are messing around, iron up putts. 74 pitch marks in one round of golf for me, I repaired in 18 holes. So we just all need to sort ourselves out and make sure we're repairing pitch marks, because that is going to ruin the course, ruin the greens, especially when there's 170 people teeing off every Saturday. That's a lot of pitch marks. So if we can all just sort ourselves out and treat it well, I'm sure the greenkeeper will love us forever.
Cheers, Dad. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for that. Have a great week. Bars opening soon, and see you all soon. Thanks again, guys. See you later.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much for the comments as well. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, Greg. Cheers,